Do you have what it takes to live abroad? The reason why I'm making this video is because recently I've seen so many people talking about moving to other countries, especially I see this quite often with a lot of Americans right now. They've been talking about selling everything, moving abroad. Even some of my own family members have mentioned this, but I've seen it a lot on social media too. And the same thing's happening here in China where I'm at. In case you didn't know, I'm here in China right now. But a lot of people here are also leaving. A lot of Chinese people are actually going to America. And then you have a lot of Americans who are moving and going to places like Mexico, going down to South America. They're going to the Philippines and all these other places. And as someone who's been living abroad for 14 consecutive years, about 17 years in total, but 14 consecutive years I've been living here in China, I can tell you living abroad isn't for everyone. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth today. I also, I'm not outside and I'm wearing this hat because I just came in from outside, but it's like raining really heavily here, having some really bad storms here in China right now. And so, I went out this morning and I wore my hat, and now my hair is all crazy, so I'm not going to show y'all my crazy hat hair. So I'm just going to keep my hat on for this video. So anyway, when it comes to living abroad, right, there's a lot of things that you really need to think about, really need to consider, and I think a lot of people overlook these things, right? And so one of the things that I've seen, some people will just sell everything and just leave and go to another country, and then what ends up happening is after some time passes, they end up leaving and going back to their home country, and now they're back at home and they don't have anything because they sold everything they had, right? So this is the first mistake, is just selling everything and then going to live in another country thinking you have what it takes, and you misjudge yourself, and it's not what you thought it was, or not what other people made it seem like it was, and you end up hating it and you go back, right? So number one, before you decide to pack up and go live in another country, I really suggest you experience it not in the form of vacation, because going on vacation to another country is totally different. It's totally different than living in another country. So you need to go to that said country that you're considering moving to and spend some extended amount of time there. I would suggest to stay 30 days minimum, 30, 60, 90 days, something like that. And you need to do it like you would as if you're living there, like you're living at home, right? You don't go stay in some hotel or some resort, something like that, right? You need to get a place that's similar to the way you would be able to afford, on a long extended amount of time, right? Something that you're gonna, if you're gonna say your mortgage right now is $500 a month or something like that, right? Then you need to rent a place that's similar in price or cheaper, right? You're not gonna stay at some 5-star hotel that's $150 or $200 a night, because that's not how you're gonna be spending your life. You need to move to a local neighborhood, and you need to be cooking and doing all the things that you would do on a normal basis, or eating at the places you would normally eat. You can't live this vacation lifestyle 24/7. It's just not a vacation. So some other things that you need to think about and need to consider is when it comes to moving abroad to whatever country you decide to move to, there's going to be some major things that are going to come into play. And one of those things you really need to consider is going to be the language. Depending on your age, do you feel comfortable learning a new language? If not, you don't want to come to a place like China where not many people speak English. You're going to be extremely lonely if you can't communicate at least on a basic level, because you're not going to be able to make many friends. You're going to be alone a lot, and there's going to be lots of other struggles too when it comes to communication, because we don't want to think about this, but we are going to get sick, right? You're going to get older, you're going to get sick, you're going to need to go to the hospital, you're going to need to go to the dentist and things like that. I've got to go to the dentist on Monday. But all these things will really affect your life here, right? Trying to deal with doctors and things like that can be really, really difficult if you can't speak the language, and you're going to have somebody to help you with those things. And if you can't speak the language, it might be difficult to even find somebody to help you with these things, because people have their own lives and they're busy. And if you don't have friends who you can communicate with, you're going to be struggling to deal with these kind of things, especially dealing with these things alone. So you really need to take in consideration the country you're going to move to. Do they speak the language? And is the healthcare available or affordable in the language that you speak? And speaking of healthcare, certain things like insurance and things like that. You know, they may not accept insurance from your country. You may have to take out insurance in their country, and the policies are different, the prices are different. All these things really play a big factor into, you know, the place that you're going to live. So you really need to think this through and do adequate research on the place that you want to go. So that being said, there are some other factors that you really need to consider also. Things like the culture, the food, and even things such as like your hobbies and things like that. Are those things going to be able to fit into your life in the place that you're going to go, right? So, you know, if you're not somebody who's, you know, if you're not very adventurous in your eating, you might not want to come to a place like China, because it's going to be very expensive for you to go out and eat, say, American food every single day, or to buy the ingredients to make that food at home. It's going to cost you a lot more money as opposed to eating, you know, the local foods. So you really have to know, like, can I eat the local foods in this place all the time on a regular basis with, you know, without getting tired of it? If not, that place may not be for you, right? So you really need to take all these things into consideration as far as the cuisine, or the price of the food, the price of the type of food you like to eat. Can you afford to buy that food and cook that food at home? Can you afford to go out and eat that food outside? Can you communicate with the people in your own language? Do you need to learn a new language? Are you willing to learn a new language? All these things make a really big difference in choosing the destination, you know, that you're going to go to, or, you know, they may just totally ruin your total experience in living in another country if you just pack them and say, oh, you know, I see these vloggers making videos about Thailand and it looks wonderful, and then you show up and then you don't like the food, you don't like the culture, or you know, you find it really difficult to communicate in that language. Maybe that wasn't the best option for you. Maybe you should have went to Malaysia, or maybe you should have went to Philippines, or, you know, maybe you should have went to Costa Rica or something, right? All these things play a big factor into where you're going. So just some things that I think a lot of people really overlook and don't think through before they make some of these decisions. And I myself, I made some decisions like that, but I was younger at the time, and I was able to adapt and you know, and make changes in my life to make it work, to make it fit. But depending on where you are in your life, that may not be possible for you, or that may not be something that you're even interested in, right? So you got to really, really think about all these things and think this through very carefully. I mean, it's possible to live abroad without, you know, learning a new language and things like that, but you're really limiting yourself to your friends, your opportunities, or, you know, it could even be, you know, bad for your mental state if you can't make friends and you're always alone or something like that, right? Those things can really be detrimental to your mental health. Then on the other side of things, I've seen some other people kind of be opposite. Like mentally, they were able to do it and they didn't have any problem mentally, but their body didn't agree with them. Like their mind was there, but they kept getting sick and kept getting sick and kept having health problems and things like that due to certain factors such as the climate or the weather, the altitude, the food, all these type of things. Their body wasn't willing to accept those things, and they were always sick, and they had to pack up and go back home because their body said no, even though their mind was willing. So you really need to take all these things into consideration when you are thinking about moving abroad. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this at least brought some insight to you about some things to think about and some things to look into and research further before you make an emotional decision and just sell everything and just disappear to a place that you've only vacationed and haven't had experience actually staying in that place for a certain amount of time. I highly suggest you do that first. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment below. I'd like to know what you have to say on this topic. Have you lived abroad before? Have you visited abroad? Have you spent time abroad? Let me know where you went. Let me know what you thought about it. I'd love to hear that because I'm also always looking for new places to go and travel. So see y'all on the next one. Appreciate it. Take care.